This is Radio Bath.
And this is Brave Business Conversations, and we're here with Ali McDowell, founder of Positive Planners. Hey, Ali.
Hey, how are you?
So good to have you in the studio.
So good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we met about a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, we talked about your journals.
Yeah.
And they were brilliant. You
Thank
gave me a
you.
few samples, and I did them. And I feel brilliant doing it, and it was so much fun. Tell us how you got into this business. And tell us a bit about, what is it all about?
Sure. So I'm Ali. I'm the co-founder. So there is another founder. She lives in Kenya. Her name is Fynn. And we started the business in 2017. We both felt the need to journal through our own recoveries of depression. Mine in particular was postnatal depression. And I just looked around thinking, why isn't everyone doing this? This is such a brilliant tool and it's for free. So we started to create our first journal, the Positive Planner, which is the yellow one. And we crowdfunded that, and we were sold out within 2 weeks, and we thought, hang on a minute, we've got a really good business idea here. So that's kind of where it started.
And that's good. And you're from Bath?
I am.
Born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is this journal all about? I know you've got several types of journals. So the yellow one, the Positive Journal, or the Positive Planner, what is that all about?
So we created the Positive Planner. It's all about setting intentions, creating space for yourself, practicing self-care, which can be a really difficult thing to do when you're in a tricky place, and just bringing it back to basics, really. So journaling can sound quite complicated. Mm-hmm. How do I journal? Where do I start? What we do is we give you a prompted daily. So you've got your morning intentions and your evening reflections, and it's a check-in. So it's a really easy way to bookend your day, we like to say. So it's setting yourself up for looking for the positives, maybe if positives aren't coming quite so easily. And we just found that actually through having a physical book to go to, it kind of becomes like your friend, a part of you. You're writing, it's your words, it's your story. And that's really powerful and actually very empowering as well.
Yeah, what I like about the yellow journal, the Positive Planner, was that it starts with intention. And it has a bit of journaling, but also a lot of creativity as well. You've got the coloring, you've got this type. And then there's certain questions that prompt reflection. It wasn't just, when people say journaling, it's like a blank page, it's all leather bound, it's really boring, and you get Dear Diary. And that's not what it was about at all, and we'll talk more about demystifying journaling later after this segment. So you've got the Positive Planner, and tell us a little bit more about the other ones.
Yeah, so we've got the Positive Bullet Diary, which is more about planning your time, so making sure that you are making enough time for all the other things in your life, not just your business, but it's this work-life balance. That's a 12-month undated diary.
That's a blue one, isn't it?
That's the blue one, and it's got plenty of space for creativity, finding your voice through either journaling or doodling or whatever you want to do. So that's kind of based on a bullet journal, which is kind of a big sort of thing that people like to do but possibly don't have the time to set them out. So we've done all of that for you. And then we've got the Positive Wellness Journal, which really came as a sort of after the Positive Planner, we were thinking about mind, body and soul, still having that same setting intentions, but a little bit deeper. So more thinking about yourself in a holistic sense. So where do I fit into my life, mind, body and soul, and what can I do each day to help improve those things?
Yeah.
So that's kind of almost like a self-development journal. Very similar to the planner, but just a slightly different angle. So there's contributors such as Susie Redding, who does some lovely breathing exercises in there. And we have a bit of art therapy. So yeah, there's lots of different things in the wellness journal. And then we've got the free writing journal, which is completely blank. You go for it. So I suppose that's once you are ready, set up, and you know exactly what you're doing when you're journaling, you can go for it in there. And on the front of that, it says, I write so I can hear myself think, which is a great quote for actually verbalising some of your feelings.
Yes.
And then we have the Positive Doodle Diary, which is for children. So that's created in lockdown last year with our children. They were off school. So we thought, right, okay, what can we do? And growth mindset, and just really talking about feelings through journaling, writing, and drawing,
Yeah.
and colouring, of course. So yes.
What I love about your series, they all look very, very nice. And the thing for me at least, if I'm going to have a journal, I've got to like looking at it, you know, and there's something about downloading all these free journals and everything from online, but it's just not the same, you know, writing things out on type. And I don't think good journaling practice is typically handwritten, isn't it? It's not just typing it away.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about your story, about, you know, all these things that you've implemented into your own life that created better mental well-being for you. But first, let's enjoy a bit of music. We started with I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, and that was I'm Real by Jen. We are all real, aren't we, Ali? We have real feelings, we have real lives. So you created all these journaling. Oh, by the way, we're still founder of Positive Planners. I always forget to introduce the guests. But you created all these fantastic journals. And were those the exercises that helped you when you were going through?
Yes. Everything has been tried and tested by us and helped us, which is why at the heart of our business is us and our and actually our connection to other people trying to make sense of their mental health. So I think that's what sort of sets us apart from some stations. Ours has kind of got that that lived experience.
Yeah.
And creativity has always been a huge part of my life. I went to St Martin's, I went to art school, sketchbooks. So naturally, going through my first mental health crisis, I'd call it, it was, you know, creativity was what got me back. So it felt right that would be what I would share with the world. Yeah.
What does creativity do when you are at that state when you're not feeling so good about yourself? Why does creativity work?
I think, well, I know it's about consciousness. It's about your mind. People, we talk about mindfulness all the time, don't we? What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is actually accessing that part of our brain that is slightly more difficult to get in our busy everyday lives. Creativity can spark new thought. It can create a sense of resilience. It can help you boost yourself up. It can confidence, because creativity, you're taking risks, you're being playful, you're allowing yourself to pick. So you can show yourself, actually, I can do this. I can get through whatever you're going through. And it can be such a crutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. When I'm in my low times, I don't feel like being creative. You know, it's almost like depression or whatever is the antithesis of creativity. So when you can spark that creativity, there's no space. I sometimes tell people, it's like you can't feel two things at once. You know, you can't have two different emotions at once. Have to either, you know, you have to choose. So when you're training your brain to choose the creative side, the playful side of things, there's no room for the depression side.
Yeah,
you know.
I totally agree with that, and I think that's why journaling is so clever, because usually if you've been to school, you sort of know how to write and you can hold a pen, so it's quite accessible.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, me too. So you can pick up a pen, and you know, writing in itself is creative, right? So words, some people will use their laptops for journaling. I personally feel holding a pen, connecting your thoughts to paper is really quite powerful. But yeah, letting your mind just flow out through your pen, and then looking back. I mean, you look over the last hundreds and hundreds of years. We've written letters to each other. We've kept diaries. You know, think of Anne Frank.
Yes.
These are people that have managed themselves through their writing.
Yeah.
So words can be so powerful in those times. And if you don't feel creative when you're feeling low, then try and access your thoughts. Try and access that part of your brain that's just thinking and feeling, and write those bits down.
Yeah, handwriting to me is drawing. Is drawing out your words. And sometimes you want to make it bigger, capitalize it, or you want to make it bolder. I remember doing your positive planner with a marker, certain types, because some of the pages are actually thick enough so I can use a marker with it. I had, because of your positive planner, I created an art kit for myself. So I went to the shop and I got a little pencil case, a big pencil case. So I had my markers, I had my color, water, the coloring pens.
Yeah.
coloring pencils. Didn't go for crayons because it just get messy, But I went all that, and it was just so much fun. Sometimes I'm not doing anything, and I just pick it up, not to journal, but to do the creative areas of your journal, and then I'd go back to the journaling in the morning and once every night, and it's brilliant. Absolutely,
that makes me so happy. That makes me feel really, that is the intention of our products, is just to sort of spark something, some form of innovation in you, or even if it's just to get some space and just to have a little think. But also stationery is a feel-good thing, isn't it?
It is. I can spend hours in a stationery shop.
Stationery is a very big love of mine. So if you can even just get your pens out, then that's great. That's my job done.
Exactly. We'll talk more about journaling and mental health with Ali McDowell, founder of Positive Planner, after this. We're still in the studio with Ali McDowell, founder of Positive Planners. Journaling, there's a whole bunch of the need for perfectionism. And maybe that's why people use computers when they journal, because the typing is super good. But what's your experience, the relationship between journaling and perfectionism?
We have this a lot in our business. It's like, I can't journal, I don't have writing, I can't spell, my grammar is terrible. And we just turn around and say, nobody cares. Because it's your journaling, it's your writing, it's your words, it's your brain. And nobody's reading it. And if you're writing it for someone else to read, then perhaps you're not journaling properly. Or not that there's a proper right or wrong way to do it, but perhaps you're not being as authentic with yourself. So we sort of say, just go for it and just see what happens. And often in our workshops, we get people to let their messy out. So I get people to scribble all over their page, go over the lines, make huge scribbles so that they just kind of get it out of their system. And now I say, now we're going to write like nobody's watching. So you need to make sure that you really do flow with your writing. We see a lot of perfectionism nowadays. We've got Instagram, we've got the comparison. We are trying to make everything pretty and perfect. And there isn't a place for that, really. It's kind of about asking your ego to stay at the door and just letting it all out. And sometimes I say, I'll start, Dear Diary, and it's all quite proper. And by the end of it, I'm like Nancy from Oliver, and I'm sort of effing and blinding and swearing. And, and I think that is that's what I need to get out. It's a bit like when you're on holiday and the last 2 weeks of your holiday, you haven't got into it, you haven't relaxed, and then the last 2 days you go, oh my God, I'm so into this now, this is great, I can relax.
Yeah.
That's what happens with journaling. The last couple of sentences or pages that you do can read like, okay, this is cathartic now, this is coming out. So I would just kind of try not to overthink it. That's the best advice.
I think the lessons we've had sometimes in school about writing is always about doing writing the correct way, spelling it out, right grammar, make sure the slant, I remember cursive, making sure the slant was right and blah, blah, blah. And that just goes out the door when you're journaling. And it's almost like when you are trained like that, then you feel like the world has to be perfect. And sometimes I think the problem with perfectionism, as I see in some of my younger clients, is the inability to take risks because they don't know enough, or they don't want to make a mistake, right? But if you think about all the successful people that's come before us, they have made mistakes, and actually they're very good at making mistakes and jumping back into the game. That's why they're successful. Yeah,
learning to fail is a whole new thing, and unlearning everything from school. So you don't have to tick any boxes with this. It's almost like mental well-being needs to have its own self-development program that forgets everything that you've
vocational
ever learned.
Course.
Yeah.
Being
everything that you've ever learned. Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's value. I mean, there's value, obviously, learning how to write well, speak well, and everything. But then once you've come to a certain level, now great. Now you've got the basics, be you. It's kind of like cooking, a lot of us got into new hobbies. Mine was cooking over the lockdown. And I was learning the basics of cooking, like what not to do, and what to do. But after that, you're like, okay, great. So I can mix this ingredient, that ingredient. I just have to sear it. After you sear everything and put butter in it, everything tastes good, But, there's some basics, which I think what school taught us. But then it's about allowing yourself to go beyond that.
Exactly. And I think, like you said, learning to take risks, learning to maybe be bad at something, you know, that's okay. It's not everybody can be good at everything. You might try journaling and it's not for you, but if you find value in it and you think, oh wow, I feel like I've managed to get something out and now I'm looking at the paper and I'm actually understanding how I'm feeling a little bit more, then that's, you know, that's great. That's really good. What we do find is that a lot of people say, oh yes, well I used to keep a diary, but then my brother read it once.
Oh, that's the story of my life.
Yeah.
That's how I stopped journaling.
Exactly.
He read it in front of the whole family.
There we go. There we go. And we hear this all the time. You know, I can't write because I'm worried someone's gonna find it. I say, write it, then burn it. Then
Yeah,
because still
that's what I do.
it's in the process.
Yeah.
The magic is in the process of writing. It's not having a final thing to keep, or you know.
To be honest, your journal is still your finished journal. I finished a whole book, but it's still in my shelf. It might be burned.
Yeah.
You know, it might be burned because it's such a beautiful book. I don't want to burn it, and I've put in so much of my thoughts into it. But at the same time, probably because of my brother incident, I kind of feel like, oh, if I leave it there, somebody's going to read it, and I kind of had their name in it somehow, somewhere with effing and blinding. That was them, and I don't want them to read it. And I think it might end up in the fire this winter.
It's kind of interesting though, because they're sort of yellow cloth-bound, beautiful books.
Yeah.
No one would think to sort of look in it. It doesn't sort of scream diary or anything, does it? So.
But you don't use any plastic or rubber in it, so if I burn it, it just goes up in smoke. So it's great.
Exactly. So what we sort of say is if you don't want to keep it, then don't. But there's magic in the moment, I think, especially if you are in a fog. We've all been there, you know, when you can't make sense, you don't know what the next step is. You know, just writing to yourself as if you were your own best friend is actually sort of the simplest thing you could do. But
refresh me of the questions that you'd go through every day in Positive Planner, because I remember when I was going through it, it actually it was my daily questions. It became my daily questions.
Yeah,
what was it again? You started with...
So we've got, obviously it's different in different books, but we've got my daily mantra. So a mantra for yourself. Often I would sort of say things to myself that would take me through, you know, the really obvious one is this too shall pass. I often think of things like ride the wave, or, you know, just kind of keep going or whatever. And then you've got your 3 to-dos, which sounds funny, but it's kind of like, you know, when you need to do those things by the end of the day and you're going to be really stressed if you don't have them done. And this isn't kind of to do with work. This might be, you know, in your private life. So it sort of reminds you to sort of get those things sorted. You've got your self-care moment, which is, you know, what am I going to do today for me that's going to get me back to myself? So there's that. And then we've got your gratitude moment as well, stuff like that. So the different books say different things, so I'm sort of blending them here.
Yeah, no, I was referring to the yellow one because I remember the mantras helped because it's almost like sometimes I feel like you've got to have other people telling you all these motivational mantras. Actually, if you just answer that question for yourself, by yourself, you can come up with really cool mantras.
Yeah.
You know, like you'd said, even stuff like keep going. It doesn't have to go on a T-shirt, you know, but it's absolutely good. It's what you need, you know, and that's what your motivational statement. The things to do was fantastic because that was my daily focus. And that was like, you know, of all the distractions that I get during the day, what do I have to get done? Actually, the self-care one was really precious for me because that's the one thing I don't do very well. And it could be quiet time. It could be shutting off gadgets. It could be exercise. It is, you know, people who are so anti all these mindfulness things are probably not even listening, but let's just say they are, and they've stayed this far. You'd have to think that self-care doesn't have to be meditating under a tree.
No.
It could just be allowing yourself not to, for instance, if I don't feel like doing something, allowing yourself not to do it.
Yes,
instead of saying, I'll just do it because I self-sacrifice for everybody. That's the thing, you know, or eating healthy food.
Yeah.
You know?
Putting yourself first is about me. It's about saying me first. And if you are looking after yourself, then you're going to be much better to the people around you. So it can look like bubble baths for some people, but it can also look like get an early night. Don't stay up scrolling on my phone until 11 o'clock because I'm not going to be any good to anyone tomorrow. It can also look like, spend some time with that friend that makes you feel great, or read, nourishing your brain a little bit more. There's so many, self-care looks different for everybody. Everyone has a different toolbox. But,
I remember when I was going through my downtime, it was, let's say, listening too much to people who criticized the way I did things. And I listened to them. See, that was my mistake, right? I listened to them. If I had your diary at that time, your journal, my self-care probably for most of those days would have been allow myself not to listen to them and be okay with just doing my own thing. Or another time when I was I used a lot of alcohol back in the days just to keep myself de-stressed. My self-care list would have included, so just because everybody's having another round, it doesn't mean that I have to be part of it. And allowing myself to just have water or not have it as a second drink or fourth, fifth drink for that night. That would have been my self-care moment, because many times I just kept going because other people were doing it, not because I wanted to.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be about saying yes, and sometimes it can be about saying no.
Exactly.
So it's just different for everybody's situations.
Yeah.
And maybe yours was like, I will allow myself to
be
step
me.
away when I need to, or, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the last thing on the daily intentions is my note to self, which I think is a really important thing, talking to yourself in a way that is something that you need to hear. It's like either you're stepping into cheerleader mode, or maybe kind of pull yourself together mode, or maybe it's just sit and be and do what you need to do, or there's just so many different ways that you can talk to yourself. But most of the time we talk to ourselves in a negative way. Most of the time we berate ourselves. Why did you do that? Talking to yourself in a positive way takes practice, believe me, and that does is it over 12 weeks. It gets you to talk to yourself positively and encourage yourself to look for the positive every day for 12 weeks, because obviously breaking habits takes time. Yeah, exactly. So
people think breaking habits takes 21 days. No, it takes 21 consecutive periods. So if your habit takes place every week, it takes 21 weeks. And once you break that, you break one again. But my note to myself was actually most days, because I was going through this days when I was transitioning into the UK. A lot of "you're okay," "I'm okay," or I think there's sometimes when I say "you're okay" with a U, and then sometimes I say "I love myself" or whatever, because that had to be a conscious decision based on the stuff that I was going through. It says I have to feel okay.
That's so, that really resonates with me, because for me, when I was going through an anxious period, it was, you are safe, you're all right, everything is okay, you don't need to. So there is which can be so powerful and so simple. Yeah. Few words.
So I used your mantra as my advice to myself, but I used your what I would say to myself as a self-affirmation or a positive. Beautiful. You should get the book. How did we get the book? Tell us how to get your books.
You can get the book through our website, which is www.thepositiveplanners.com. We are also in gift shops and bookshops. We're also in Waterstones now, which is a very
I saw you in Waterstones,
which is very cool. And Oliver Bonus. So you can mostly through our website. We fulfill.
You're in Oliver Bonus. I was just in their shop in Edinburgh yesterday, literally. I was looking at the dresses though. The books, but I love the books, and the books are super colorful. You'll want to pick it up every single day, twice a day. It feels like a good book. I want to get back to Ali after this just to get her final thoughts about mental health and journaling.
This is Radio Bath.
And this is Brave Business Conversation, and that was Dancing in the Dark from 1984 by Bruce Springsteen. Ali, we're at the end of our show. Thank you for being with us, and I want to get final tips about mental health and maybe journaling or anything you want to give us in this segment.
Yeah, so thank you for having us for a start off. So my mental health tips are mainly just to try and be super honest with yourself. Really trying to tap into where it's coming from, what you might need. And that's where journaling can be really helpful, actually. But, just reaching out. Do you have a friend that you can really talk to, or a family member that you can say, look, can we just sit down for 10 minutes? I just need to talk about a few bits. And I'm telling you, people are always more than happy to listen. And you say you don't need to fix me, you know, I just, and that's kind of all I really ever say is, you know, it's okay not to be okay, but also it's not okay sometimes to not be okay all the time. So reach out. You know, there's so many people out there that could support you and help you, but they're not going to know how to help you unless you ask them. So that's my main one. Tips for journaling is just, like I said before, be authentic, try to let go of your perfectionism, try new things, just, you know, maybe go onto Pinterest and find some journaling prompts if you need to get inspired. So those are my
That's so true.
tips.
Remember, I think if you take care of people, if you're a mom or you're a dad or you're a business leader taking care of things, sometimes you have this pressure you put on yourself that I can't ask for help because I help people, which is great, but you know it's not true. Obviously, everybody needs help, and it's about being honest with yourself. So for those of you who are, you know how you get attracted to these doodle books, you know, that you just want a coloring books and everything. Imagine a coloring book, and also imagine a journal with prompted questions, really sharp prompted questions. I've done a lot of journaling, and I've read a lot of books in my time as a self-development coach, as a business coach, things like that. But I tell you, your set of questions coupled with the creative side really make, to me, the ultimate journal, because it really, really helps, and it really, really works. So thank you again for being with us. Positive Planners, guys, just look it up. It'll be everywhere in Google because it's such a great book. Or if you want, just hop onto Waterstones and check it out for yourself.